Hey guys, welcome here. If you're new here, my name's Bethany. I'm the girl behind Well Love Knits. We do a lot of knitting content here on this channel, whether that's sitting down for a knit and chat, working on a project together, or where I show off a bunch of my projects in a knitting podcast format, and any other kind of crafty things I want to get into, like sewing. That's my other hobby that I'm kind of into lately. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely consider subscribing. Today, I'm very excited to talk to you guys a little bit about my fall knitting plans. I've been pretty selfless, I think, in the last couple of months, because if you've been following along, I've been doing a baby knits marathon where I've just been knitting a handmade wardrobe for my soon-to-be newborn baby that's coming later in September. So I haven't had a lot of knitting time for myself, but to be fair, I didn't really want to. I was really excited and creatively inspired by all of the baby knit projects that I had going on my needles. But now that that's kind of coming to an end and fall is coming soon, I've been dreaming of a lot of selfish cast-ons, things that I want to get on my needles and into my wardrobe specifically for the upcoming fall season. So I want to talk to you guys about that today because I'm very excited about these projects, and I've, spoiler alert, already cast some on and gotten pretty far on one of them. So I might even finish one of these projects before fall really gets into swing. Who knows? At this rate, maybe that's the case. So I need to sit down and document it and share it with you guys, because otherwise I'm just going to show up with a random sweater one day and it's going to be a lot of explaining to do. So I have a basket right here of the fiber that I'm going to talk through today. I did indulge in a little bit of a yarn haul for myself and for others, because this is not all for me, actually. I will say that. But then at the same time, I did shop my stash for a couple of these projects. So I'm very excited to get into all of this with you, both on the sharing what I've picked up for myself, and then also just talking through some of these new items that I'm gonna have in my closet. Some projects that are just very different for me. I'm very excited about it. Yeah, so I've already cast on 2 of these projects, actually. So I probably should show you those first because those I think are gonna be the ones that I prioritize. Definitely prioritize because I've already gotten so far. I don't know what it is, but I have just been dreaming of a dusty purple sweater all year, it seems. I haven't been wanting to cast it on until just now, but this is something that I've wanted in my wardrobe for a really long time. I just was imagining for fall specifically, a really oversized dusty purple turtleneck sweater that I could just kind of envelope myself in and just wear all the time. I did also see though that Emily from High Fiber Knits cast on a sweater or something in a purpley combination. I think it was the Louvre sweater. And it was in this really beautiful purple. And then I saw that and I was like, wait a minute, I've been wanting a purple sweater. I need to get the yarn for this soon so I can start knitting it up ASAP. And that's what I did. So I'm very excited about this yarn combination because it's a yarn combination I've never tried. I've never knit either of these yarns before, but it's a combination that I'm very familiar with because of the people who live in Nordic countries. They knit with this combination quite a bit. So this is Filcolana Peruvian Highland Wool and Filcolana Tilia. These colors are so beautiful. I'm very excited about how it looks because as soon as I got this in the mail, I knit up a swatch because I was just curious. Okay, this is a little bit of a darker color than I was really expecting. The dusty lavender is something that I absolutely loved. I saw that and I was like, ooh, this is gonna be perfect because It has a little bit of gray in it as well, so it's a little bit softer. It's not as vibrant. We know that I like a more muted shade of colors than something that's really bold. So as soon as I got this in the mail, I knit up a tiny little swatch just to see what the fabric looked like. And I'm not even gonna bother showing that to you because I have something I have progressed way more than I could have ever even imagined with the project, because I cast on immediately because I was so excited. I'm just in awe of myself. Do you see this right now? I finished the yoke of this sweater already. And it's only been a matter of days since I've received the yarn in the mail. I was just so excited with the potential of this sweater that I cast on immediately after I finished that swatch. And I think it's because of the needle size. I've been working with a lot of tiny baby knits on 3mm needles, 2.5. And those are my main, those are the two needle sizes that I've been really like switching between this whole summer. And this is on 5mm needles. So I think that's why I've just like zoomed through it, because I kind of forgot how fast 5mm needles really just flies. After you're working on baby knits for so long, it's, you know, it's shocking. But anyway, I'm showing you this, and I haven't even mentioned what pattern I'm going to be knitting up, or what pattern I'm successfully knitting right now. This is going to be the Wednesday sweater by Petite Knit, which is the first project that I'm interested in working on for fall. I'm interested in having it in my closet as soon as the weather turns. So I'm actually very happy that I've put in the time to get this far already. So yeah, like I said, the yoke is done. The panels have been joined, just joined. So I haven't really gotten far on the body. I really did just join the two panels together very, very recently. But this is exactly the oversized turtleneck sweater that I was imagining. Just take a look at how beautiful that is. I am really crazy about how the mohair is playing. So like I said, I wasn't really sure like how that was gonna look because it was so much darker. Was it gonna give me that dusty purple sweater result that I was really interested in? It is a little bit more deep purple than I was kind of envisioning. I was envisioning more of like a grayish purple, but I am so excited about it regardless. I think this is gonna be a beautiful sweater, and I'm actually really excited about how it's looking with my hair. I'm gonna be definitely Daphne from Scooby-Doo. And I'm totally okay with that. I think this is gonna be a really, really flattering sweater and something that's just a little bit different than anything I've knit up before. The ones that I wear, the handmade knits that I wear the most are mainly the neutral ones. I have one bold red sweater that I wear all the time, and I think this one is probably going to take over that as soon as it's done, just because this is just something so new, and I think it's really gonna bring something extra to my wardrobe and my rotation. Gosh, but I'm just so shocked at how far I've gotten already. This is enthusiasm for sure. I haven't had this kind of enthusiasm for a project for myself in a really, really long time, so I'm kind of giddy about it. Because if you know, like at the very beginning of this year, I had a really, really hard time with motivation. That was due to pregnancy, but it kind of stayed true for the projects that I had cast on earlier this year. I haven't really touched them at all. I'm just not interested in them. So also, we're gonna ignore all the UFOs that I have cast on and waiting for me in my stash. We're not even gonna talk about those, even though I just mentioned them. We're ignoring them in this video for sure. But that is going to be the Wednesday sweater, my first fall project. Soon to be finished object, I think. But let's see how long this actually takes me. I'm very curious. The next project is a little bit different for me, and I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited to take on a project that's so different from other things that I've knit myself in the past. So this is another selfish knit, definitely. And this I actually did half source the yarn, and half of it is coming from my stash. So I've caked it all up because I actually worked on it a little bit. So I'm gonna actually bring up the yarn that I have here. And hopefully I won't tangle everything, even though it's already tangled. So I have these 3 very beautiful cakes here. They are gorgeous. They scream fall to me. Okay, so I've had these 2 right here in my stash for quite some time. Last year when I went to go visit the US, I went to a yarn shop in Savannah, Georgia, and picked up these 2 skeins, which have since been caked up. And what really attracted me about these skeins is that they have that metallic-y sheen. It was just so unique. I haven't seen a lot of yarn that has like that metallic-y shine to it. So I thought it was really unique. This one in particular really, really caught my eye because in some areas, I don't know if you can see it very well, but in some areas it looks like a penny. It's very copper. And then this aubergine, I'm really into purple. I had originally 2 skeins of this purple, and this is just the 1 skein of the copper yarn. And unfortunately, my parents, very, very cute golden doodle, ripped this one to shreds, basically made it so that it was near impossible to untangle it and work with the yarn. So I had to sadly just let it go. So then when I was trying to think about what kind of projects I wanted to do for fall, I was actually at my local yarn store not too long ago and saw that they had the exact same yarn. I didn't realize that they had the same brand, the same yarn there, which I could have sourced for that sweater project, but I'm kind of past the sweater that I wanted to originally knit up. And I actually saw a different skein, so not these 2 skeins, but this one right here, which I think combines these 2 very, very nicely. So it has that deep purple, but then it has a lot of pinks, greens, blues. It just has a lot of very beautiful colors in it, some variegation that I'm very intrigued by. And I thought, holy crap, these would look so good together. And I really think that they do. They pair very nicely together. Same yarn, same color tones. This just screams fall to me. This looks like fallen leaves. And then these 2 colors are just pulling from this one. I think they all work really, really nicely. So what am I gonna knit with these? Well, I don't know about you guys, but I catch up with Andrea Mowry every week on her I'll Knit If I Want To podcast Q&A type video. And I have yet to knit an Andrea Mowry pattern. I don't know why, but she makes beautiful patterns. I have never knit one up. I always, gravitate towards petite knit, my favorite thing's knitwear, which I really, really love. And I think I can knit a lot of closet staples with those. But I wanted to see her patterns and see if there was anything that I was really interested in. And I knew that I was going to be very interested because Casey Apple from Young Folk Knits recently finished, I think she finished it, a Inclinations cowl, which is a half fisherman's rib cowl, like an asymmetrical cowl. And she did that project with a little bit of a low contrast kind of combination, which really, really spoke to me. I think it was dark brown, but then it had, this yarn reminded me of it. It was, like a pairing where it's low contrast, where there's some color coming out of it, but, you're kind of staying in just low contrast. I don't really need to explain that. You get it. I saw that and I was like, that's really beautiful. And then when I saw all these together, I was like, ooh, I could make something very similar to that. Maybe I should give it a try. Except I'm not gonna knit the cowl, I'm going to knit the Inclinations shawl, which is something that I've never knit before, but I've been very shawl curious. So I do want to take on a project like that, and I think it would be really perfect for me this fall because since I am expecting a new baby, I will be breastfeeding, and I will need maybe some cover up or something to keep us cozy while we spend a lot of time together. I think I made a great decision, if I do say so myself, based on how this is looking right now. So, okay, my belly is getting in the way of this basket. So I honestly just cast this on as a swatch. I really just wanted to see how the colors kind of played together, and then they actually turned out exactly how I wanted it to turn out. So this is just gonna be the shawl project. I don't really need to swatch for it, to be honest, because I don't really mind. I'm not using the needle size that's recommended in the pattern. I'm using a half size down or 0.25 millimeter size down. So really, I'm really just using the recommended needle size for the yarn, and then the shawl will just grow and be the size that it turns out. I'm not really too bothered by that. I'm not really worried about it actually fitting the right dimensions or so. So I'm really just gonna be knitting until all 3 of those yarns are done. So while this is, you know, we've got progress here. This is definitely just a swatch size. I haven't gotten very, very far. Admittedly, when I started, it took a couple of attempts to kind of get it right. Make sure that I'm on the right track with, you know, the changing of the colors and the stitch pattern, because this is half fisherman's rib. And yeah, just making sure I got the I-cord edge working really nicely. It is very interesting how different Andrea's patterns are compared to what I'm used to, because like I said, I really love petite knit. My favorite thing's knitwear. I'm very used to that style of pattern where you don't have a lot of extra information. It's pretty much assuming that you know a lot of basic things, basic abbreviations, but then again, they only use really basic abbreviations. Andrea's patterns, she definitely is very thorough. That was something that was a little intimidating for me when I first opened up the pattern file. I was like, wow, there's a lot of information in here. So the glossary and all that definitely was intimidating, but I'm happy to say that very easy to kind of adjust and get into a flow. Like once you get into the flow, it's not very difficult to keep going, if that makes sense. Yeah, I found that I was able to memorize the stitch pattern, and I was able to understand her instructions very easily, even with some of those abbreviations that I had never seen before. So it's just a small adjustment, you know, to the type of writing style. So it gives me hope that I'll be able to finish this no problem. I don't think I should have any issues. It's just very interesting how different that style really is. But oh, gosh, I'm really excited to work on this one as well. I think this is going to be really nice. And I'm happy that I got started with it, because I think this will be a good thing to just have these projects cast on, so that whenever baby comes, I'll have something to knit on, and I don't have to worry about casting on from scratch and getting started from scratch on a pattern. So that is the second project that I've gotten started, second project for fall. So what else do I have in here? Well, I actually have another Andrea Mowry pattern that I want to knit up. So I got a second pattern that I'm really interested in giving a try, and it's her DRK Everyday Sweater, which I have to say does look like a good everyday kind of classic sweater. But this one is very different from some of the other sweaters that I have in my closet because it's a circular yoke, and I don't think I've done a circular yoke sweater. I've done a circular yoke cardigan. Yeah, no, so I've only done like circular yokes in cardigans or in the onesie that I did for baby. So I think this is going to be another interesting project for me, a new style of garment that I've never knit up before, and I'm really excited about that. But I'm also really excited about the yarn that I have. So I have this cone right here, which is very beautiful. This is a woolly knit cone in a gorgeous rusty brown color. It's actually called cinnamon. And we got a lot of wool here. This is 500 grams of British wool. And I picked this up from Woolly Knit, actually for the Cone Along hosted by Creabea that was earlier this year, like in the spring or like February, March. So still kind of winter of early this year. But I picked this up at the very end of the Cone Along because I was like, well, it was a good discount, and I never knit with a cone before. It seemed like it would be really worth it to get so much yarn in, you know, a cone so that I would be able to work up whatever project I decided that I wanted to work up. Because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to use it for, but I did just kind of want to get a cone to get a cone. If that sounds stupid, but it's true. So I picked up this beautiful color. And I knew that I wasn't really going to be able to take part in the Cone Along, but actually Knitting Traditions, Inga from Knitting Traditions is going to be doing I don't know if it's called like a Cone Along, but she's doing something with Woolly Knit, so I might be able to participate in that because this is a Woolly Knit cone. And she's doing some kind of knit along with their fibers. So this project is actually very timely. So I want to knit this one up I want to knit the DRK Everyday Sweater with this cone right here. I think it would be really beautiful. But what really solidified that is I was going through my mohair stash and I found 2 different types of like reddish mohair that I need to use. I need to use it. So I'm going to in this project. And I thought it would actually work really nicely with this brown right here, kind of bring out the reddish tones that's in this like cinnamon colorway. I mean, to be fair, most of the colors in here, it's more of a yellowy, but you can see some kind of rosy, orangey, like burnt orange color in this cinnamon. So I do think that this mohair right here will kind of bring that out. But then again, the only way to find out is to knit a swatch, and I'm hesitant to do so because what if I really love the combination and then I have a similar situation to my Wednesday sweater? I don't think that's going to be a good situation for me. So I'm going to wait on that. I'm going to wait until my Wednesday sweater is finished before I consider casting this on at all. But I was really excited about this. So I have these 2 colors. I have 2 of each, and I'm thinking that should be enough. I know that this is Drops Kit Silk. I don't know the color name exactly. And the label is long gone. This one is actually from my North sweater, which is a similar combination as this. It's that red sweater that I mentioned, or browns. There's a debate about what color it is. This reddish brown sweater that I have and that I wear all the time from Hip Knit Shop. And I absolutely love that. And this is leftover mohair from that project. I have 2 skeins of this, basically full skeins. And the color is obviously different, but similar enough that I think it would work really nicely. And I think what I would do is color manage in some way to kind of bring these together, maybe painstakingly unravel these and kind of make combined balls of mohair that I could do. So then there's kind of like some variegation as well. If you've done that before, let me know because I would really love some tips. I've seen how people use scraps of mohair and combine those together and make balls like that. I guess you just take a random amount of each mohair and really just wind it all up together. So I could just do that, but I don't know if that's the best way of, color managing so that it's a little bit more cohesive than me using 1 skein of this and then one skein of this and having that obvious change. You know what I mean? So I think this is going to be a really beautiful sweater. I already know that I love a reddish brown sweater in my wardrobe. I wear that one all the time, so I think I need another one and maybe a different style. It'll be perfect. So I'm very excited about that. But like I said, not going to cast it on until I have the Wednesday sweater off my needles. One more selfish cast on for myself, because not all of these are going to be selfish. But I do, if I can manage it, want to have one more sweater for myself, because I was looking at my knitted wardrobe, and I'm just, I really need some new projects. I need to finish some new projects to get those in my wardrobe so I could start wearing something a little bit new, because I feel like some of the sweaters that I finished, they're quite old now. I still love them, but I'm looking for something new in my closet. You know the feeling. So I have this combination right here that I have been meaning to knit up for such a long time. This is from my stash again. And I actually shared it in my Flash My Stash video from the beginning of this year, where I was kind of talking through the fiber that I had in my stash and what I had plans for it, if I had any plans for it, and so on. So this one I actually did have plans for it. I'm kind of tempted to do the same thing that I had said at the very beginning of this year, but I'm still undecided. But this combination, I really would love to get on the needles this fall. So this is Knitting for Olive Merino and Knitting for Olive Kit Silk or Mohair, or what is it? So this combination right here it's just one of those things where it's like I was trying to de-stash, but then ended up welcoming more yarn into my life. It was one of those things where I actually had one of them, and then I was like, well, I need to get it out of my stash, so maybe I should buy this yarn too and then work them together. So last year I got married, and I picked up some white mohair, which is this mohair, from my local yarn store. And I had the intention of knitting something for my wedding. So I had a civil wedding, and I wanted to have just like a little shawl or something that I could wear over my dress and, just knit something for myself. But I didn't really plan. There was a lot going on, plans and things just didn't happen the way that I had imagined them to. So I didn't really plan for this project. I didn't give myself enough time, basically. So the mohair was not cast on, and I didn't make anything to wear to my wedding, which actually wasn't a big deal. I didn't really care. At the end of the day, I was very happy with my ensemble. So I wasn't really that upset, and I didn't really want to stress myself out. So this just stayed in my stash. But to be honest, with mohair, it's kind of, I don't really see myself just knitting something with only mohair, especially white mohair. I feel like that's a very special occasion type fiber. I don't know. I just always looked at it like this is a wedding fiber afterwards. So then I was like, okay, well, I need something else to mix it with to be able to get this out of my stash and, have it into a final product. And that's where this came in. I ended up ordering some Knitting for Olive Merino to pair the two together in hopes that I would, knit up a sweater. So I got a sweater's quantity. Never got around to it, of course. So I would really love to do it. I have that sweater's quantity. And I think I'll be able to. I'm just a little disappointed that it's white because I'm welcoming a newborn into our family. This doesn't seem like the most practical combination for a finished garment that I would love to wear. But nevertheless, we're gonna knit something up in it. Whether that is going to be something a little bit more occasional, like special for special occasions, or is it gonna be something a little bit more of the everyday? That's something I'm still trying to figure out. So I have a couple of ideas for this project. If I decide to go the more fancy route, I would really love to do the Jenny sweater by Petite Knit. That was kind of my original idea for this, but it would be nice to have something that's not stockinette in my wardrobe. And also I will be finishing the DRK everyday sweater and the Wednesday sweater. So I should probably do something maybe a little bit more complex. I think I would kind of be craving that at that time. But then also I saw that she recently released the the Monday sweater. Petite Knit also released the Wednesday sweat. Oh my God. Petite Knit also released the Monday sweater, which is just a simple raglan design. And it would look really nice, I think, in a white. I feel like it would be a nice classic fit. Or I could do the no frills sweater, which was another original plan of mine. I don't really know. And I think that's gonna really be determined after these other two projects get finished. So like I said, this is kind of I would love to cast this on. Will I be able to? I don't know, but it will probably just roll into winter time if I don't manage to do it in fall. So we'll see, but this has to get out of my stash. I've been intending to work with it for quite some time, and I just need to cast it on the needles. That's it. That's all I really gotta do. I have a couple more projects to show you guys, but these are actually selfless knits. So I will also be doing some selfless knitting still in fall as well, but these two projects have a little bit longer of a timeline that won't necessarily be done in fall. I am giving myself until Christmas to be able to knit these up because they will be Christmas presents for the two guys in my life. And I will start with the big guy in my life. Something that I really, really wanted to do this year was to knit my husband a sweater. So that was actually a goal that I had made for myself. And I had always intended it to be something that would be for Christmas. So I would love to give him a handmade sweater for Christmas. I'm really hoping that I will be able to knit this up, but I think starting now-ish in the next couple of weeks, maybe in the next month, casting it on and slowly working my way through up until Christmas. I think that's very doable for me. And I think the project that I've decided on working up is gonna be doable as well. And I think it's gonna suit him really well. That was the hardest part though. I knew I wanted to make a sweater, but what to knit him, you know? Because my husband is not exactly like, the sweaters that he does have, they're very neutral. And we do live in a colder climate, so he owns a lot of sweaters already, albeit they're store-bought, so they're not as amazing as a handmade sweater. But I didn't really want to make anything that he's had in his closet that he grabs for a lot, because I don't want whatever I make him to be in direct competition with something that he already loves and has a habit of grabbing for. So I was really trying to rack my brain what exactly would be best, and I saw the Zipper Sweater Man by Petite Knit, and I would love to see him wearing a sweater like that. He doesn't own anything like that, so it's just kind of like a natural choice. So what fiber am I going to be using? Well, I picked up so many skeins. Holy cannoli. Knitting for men is something, or at least it's a lot different from knitting for myself, because the sweater quantity of yarn is so much bigger than what I'm personally used to. So I bought like 15 skeins of this yarn. So I'm going with Drops Nepal because I've seen other people knit up this sweater successfully with Drops Nepal. And I got it in this nice dark gray colorway. It kind of looks black on screen, but here you can see it's like a little bit of silver intertwined into this really charcoaly gray. And, you know, I think this is a good choice. Normally my husband really likes navy, but the only color that was kind of similar to navy was this really royal blue navy, and I don't see him liking that at all. So this just seemed like the safest option. And I mean, you can't really go wrong with this kind of sweater. I feel like it could be dressed up or down. And hopefully this will keep him really warm because it's a mix of wool and alpaca. So it is 65% wool and 35% alpaca. I think that will make a really nice sweater. The fabric will be really nice. It's soft to the touch. I think we're gonna be really good with this. So knitting for anybody is always really a challenge because you're always worried, like, will you make the right decision in terms of what pattern that you make for somebody? Will you make the right decision for what yarn? Will it be soft enough for them? Because if they're not a knitter, maybe they have more sensitivity to the fiber content. And then for care as well. I'm not really worried about the caring aspect because I will take charge of my husband's sweater. I am not gonna let him ruin it if I spend the time to knit it up. So I'm not really too worried about that. I'm more just worried about the color, the style, the fiber, the feel. I think this is really soft. It's, again, a mix of wool and alpaca. So, you know, the alpaca will make it so that I hope people grab for it and not find it itchy at all. I don't think he will. But then it's also like, is the style gonna work really well? So there's a lot of things that are up in the air. I do want to kind of keep this a secret to the best of my ability. He's gonna see me knitting this up, but I don't really want him to see like what the final product is meant to look like until maybe I'm further along or until he opens it, ideally, because I would, again, like it to be more of a surprise. So this is something that I am planning on casting on, like I said, maybe in a month's time, and then it'll just be something that I kind of slowly chip away at for the next couple of months. Deadline obviously being for Christmas. I would like on Christmas Day for him to open it up. And I think I'm on the right track because compared to last year, I'm definitely giving it a lot more forethought. Last year I made him a hat. That was the first thing that I ever knit him like gift-wise for Christmas or anything like that. So I would really love this to be a success. I'm hoping that since I'm giving it some thought and planning ahead, this will be pretty easy for me, like doable, you know? And I just hope that everything turns out really nice and that he really enjoys it. He loves seeing all the little sweaters that I've been making for baby. So I'm hoping that he'll be just as overjoyed to get one for himself. And then I'm just kind of hoping that this will kind of establish maybe a tradition, something that I could do each year for him and knit more sweaters because I have enjoyed so much knitting for baby, and I would love to continue to knit sweaters for the people that I love, the men in my life. I would love to knit for him more frequently. So this is going to be a very interesting project, something that I'm very excited about the finished result, especially, and to kind of have that little surprise for him. So one Christmas gift already in the works. Let me tell you about the second one. Okay, so the other one shouldn't really come as a surprise because I was definitely so enthusiastic about the last version of this project, which if you've been following along on my Baby Knits Marathon, you will know that I knit up something that was very, very new for me, something that I had never, ever imagined in my life that I would ever knit up. I know I say this, I introduce it this way every single time, but really, like, this was never something that I ever thought I would knit. And it's the giraffe from the Wild Knitted Animal Friends book by Louise Crowther. I had so much fun knitting that up. And I think the result turned out really, really great. So much that I enjoyed the project so much that I kind of knew immediately after finishing that I was going to start another one. And immediately after finishing, I ordered yarn for another one, but not a giraffe. I'm going to be knitting up the tiger. So I have this yarn right here, which is the recommended yarn. This is Sheepja's Stonewashed. I worked with it for the giraffe as well, just in different colors, obviously, that were more suited for a giraffe. This is obviously more suited for a little tiger. I just really love the Stonewash yarn because of like how worn it looks. The Stonewash effect on it, I think, looks really, really great. And for these animals, it just adds a little bit of a worn look to it, so that it already feels like they're very well loved, which is really exciting, or really cute, I should say. So yes, not really very surprising. When I got that book, I was flipping through all of the different patterns that they had, and the tiger was the one that I originally wanted to knit up. We settled on the giraffe, and I think knitting the giraffe was a perfect choice. I loved that project. I think she turned out fantastic, but I did learn a lot from that project. And specifically about my tension for color work, because I'm not really somebody that has worked with a lot of color work. So it was definitely a learning experience for me. And also knitting a stuffed animal was just something completely new, and it requires like a whole different set of, like a whole other mental state, I think, when knitting up those pieces versus a garment, for example. And then there's just things that you need to consider when assembling as well that I just didn't know. And I'm going to be taking everything that I learned and working up this little tiger. So yeah, we agreed that after knitting the giraffe, I could knit the tiger. And then we might have one other that my husband and I have agreed upon. If I'm still really into knitting up stuffed animals, this might not be the last one, and I might have another one of those cast-ons too. But for now, this is the next stuffed animal project, another baby knit that I plan on doing, but this is something that I imagine him to have for his first Christmas. So I know that he's not really gonna remember his first Christmas, but I will. He's gonna be a 3-month-old baby, but I'm gonna take so many pictures, and I'm gonna remind him every year of his life that he got a handmade tiger for his first Christmas. So that's the plan here. And again, very similar to my husband's sweater, I think that if I just start it, I mean, the last one flew off the needles. So honestly, I feel like I could get started in November and, have plenty of time to work it up. But again, it's also something that I want to plan ahead for, because I don't really know what my knitting schedule is really going to look like coming when baby comes. So there's going to be a learning curve there. So I have the yarn, I have the project in mind, and I know the deadline. So from there, I can kind of work it in and figure out based on the time that I have for myself. But that's a lot of projects, I think. I have to say, I am probably biting off more than I can chew with these projects. I know that at the very beginning of this year, I have not had a lot of knitting mojo. Baby knits, definitely. I had so much knitting mojo, but then again, those are very small. These projects for fall are a lot bigger, but then again, they're on bigger needles. So I might actually be able to pull all of this off, but we'll see. It's not like I'm going to beat myself up if I don't finish all of these, but the priorities, definitely one sweater for me to kind of get that out of the way. I want to do the shawl as best as I can. And then I will dive into the 2 Christmas gifts that I would really love to knit up. Those are my fall plans, but since those are something that's more for winter, I think we're in good shape. So I'm very excited about these projects. I think that they are going to re-energize me in some way for this season. I'm really excited for the finished object for all of these, and I hope that really carries me through to the finish line so that I don't end up with a bunch of UFOs. But you know what? Whatever happens, happens, right? I would really love to hear what you guys are planning on knitting up for fall. Have you already thought about it? Have you given it any thought at all? Because it's all I can think about. I'm just so ready for fall weather. I'm ready for the crispy leaves, the crunchy leaves, the warm beverages and blankets and everything. I'm just so tired of this heat. I'm tired of this fan that I've got going. I don't know if you can tell. I'm just really excited for cozy season. Thank you guys so much for sitting and chatting with me about these fall projects. If you liked this video, definitely give it a like. And if you like this type of content, definitely consider subscribing. I would love to have you guys stick around, and I'll see you guys in the next video.